Welcome back to the deep dive. Our whole mission here is to take that huge stack of articles and research you send our way and really just boil it down to the core ideas.
And today we are jumping into something that, on the surface, just makes no sense at all.
We're talking about Willem de Kooning's masterpiece, Interchange.
It's the perfect topic for a deep dive, really, because when you first look at this painting, all those jagged shapes, the kind of muddy, most sickly yellows and pinks.
Yeah.
There's this feeling of total chaos.
Right. The first word that comes to mind isn't masterpiece. For a lot of people, it's messy.
Or ugly. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people find it flat out ugly.
And yet, and this is the core of it all, this seemingly chaotic work sold for a price that just forces you to question everything you think you know about art?
No.
$300 million.
That number is just staggering. It's not just a high price. It puts the painting in, the most elite tier of anything ever created by a human.
So that's the big question, right? How could a canvas that so often gets that comment, "Oh, my kid could paint that," possibly be worth that much money, enough to put it in the same conversation as Leonardo da Vinci?
Exactly. And the answer has almost nothing to do with that first impression.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going past that visceral reaction, that kind of ugly truth of the first look, to dissect the artistic revolution behind it, the history, the market.
And the consensus.
Yeah.
The sheer force of consensus that built this valuation over 60 years.
We're going to show you why Interchange is so much more than a painting. It's a symbol of how value is constructed in our world. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's a great journey because once you understand this one painting, you get this incredible shortcut to understanding post-war America, its culture, its anxieties, its entire aesthetic.
Okay, so let's start there with that first impression. Our sources describe the composition as, well, a turbulent field of brushwork. It's really hard to find a focal point.
There isn't one. Everything seems to be sliding or pushing or colliding with everything else. The colors are intentionally difficult. They aren't meant to harmonize.
It's a sensory overload.
It is, and that's by design. De Kooning was actively fighting against the idea that art should be comforting or easy to look at. Think about what he was doing physically. He was layering paint, then scraping it back, then blending it into these murky textures.
So you're literally seeing the struggle, the process.
The process is the point. It looks unsettled because the act of creating it was unsettled. He wanted you to see that.
It feels almost aggressively confusing. It's demanding that you, the viewer, stop looking for something recognizable, like a person or a landscape.
Right. And instead, you have to engage with just the raw feeling of the paint. It forces this confrontation with your own idea of what beauty is supposed to be.
And that confrontation, you're saying, is where the power is.
That's exactly where the power lies.
Mm-hmm.
We were all conditioned by centuries of tradition that says great art means technical perfection, clarity, classical beauty.
Interchange just blows that all up.
Completely. It's designed to challenge your biases about what art is supposed to do. It's not a picture, it's an experience. And yeah, sometimes it's a jarring one.
And a very, very expensive experience. Let's just put a pin in the sheer scale of the sale that prompted this deep dive. It was sold in September 2015.
From the David Geffen Foundation, a very prestigious collection, to the hedge fund manager, Kenneth C. Griffin.
For $300 million.
And at that moment, it instantly became the second most expensive painting ever sold. The only thing ahead of it was Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, which later went for over $450 million.
So you have a Renaissance master and this, a chaotic blast of color from 1955.
And they're priced in the same universe.
Yeah.
That just shows you the historical weight the art world has placed on Interchange. Their aesthetics couldn't be more different, but their perceived importance is comparable.
Okay, so to understand that leap from chaos to consequence, we have to zoom out from the canvas. We have to go to the world of 1955. We need to understand the revolution de Kooning was part of.
Absolutely. The value is almost entirely about context. Interchange is a landmark work of the Abstract Expressionist movement,
which was this huge seismic shift in the art world. For the first time, the center of gravity moved from Paris to New York City.
It really did. And it wasn't just a new look or a new style, it was a whole new philosophy.
So traditional art was about depicting a subject accurately, following the rules of composition,
aiming for a kind of harmonious beauty. Abstract Expressionism just rejected all of that. It was like they threw out the entire academic rule book overnight.
What's fascinating here is that shift in focus from the subject of the painting to the self of the artist.
Exactly. The movement was all about raw emotion, about spontaneity, about the existential turmoil of the individual artist. The canvas became, as the critic Harold Rosenberg famously called it, an arena for action.
An arena for action. That phrase is perfect for de Kooning's technique because it was different from, say, Jackson Pollock.
Very different. Pollock's drip paintings had this kind of controlled randomness to them, using gravity. But de Kooning was all about gesture. His brushwork was physical, almost violent. You see thick, fast strokes.
You can feel the struggle in the paint itself, the smearing, the scraping. He was called an action painter for a reason.
And he had this incredible tension in his work. It's mostly abstract, but he's always blurring that line. You might think you see a face or a figure in the swirl, and then it's gone. That dynamism is what makes the painting feel alive.
So how does that style, the jagged lines, the anxiety connect to the world of 1955? Why that kind of expression at that moment?
Because the world itself felt fundamentally fractured. You have the immense trauma and anxiety lingering from World War II.
And then immediately you're thrown into the Cold War. The threat of nuclear annihilation is suddenly very real.
Right. So if you think of traditional art as this, a clean, polished signal of meaning, Abstract Expressionism was the static. It was the noise. It was trying to convey the chaos of a world that was struggling to find any meaning at all.
So it's an artistic language that was born from pure uncertainty.
It had to be. Interchange was a direct attempt to express the inexpressible. It embodied that raw, fragmented feeling of the time. It was rebellion and innovation all at once.
And that authenticity, that perfect reflection of its time, is what starts to build the foundation for that incredible price tag.
It's the absolute bedrock of its value.
So let's get back to the money. The economic journey here is, frankly, just mind-bending. Going from $4,000 to $300 million.
It's just an unbelievable trajectory.
Walk us through that. How did it happen?
Well, that initial sale really sets the stage. De Kooning sold it in 1955 for just $4,000.
Which wasn't nothing back then, but it's certainly not global treasure money.
Exactly. It shows it was recognized as an important work at the time, but its legendary status hadn't been cemented yet.
So if the history and the psychology of the era drove its creation, when did the financial world really catch up and assign it this 9-figure value?
It happened in stages, and it was driven by critical consensus. The value grew because its historical importance became clearer and clearer over time. Interchange wasn't just another good painting by de Kooning.
It was a turning point.
It was a pivotal turning point in his career. It's one of the first major canvases where he fully commits to this kind of intense gestural abstraction. And that shift helped redefine not just his career, but American art on the world stage.
Okay, but not every major abstract expressionist work from that year is worth $300 million. There has to be more to it. This is where scarcity and provenance come in, right?
Exactly. Scarcity is a massive driver of value in the art market. De Kooning only produced a relatively small number of these truly defining museum-quality works from this period. Interchange is a premier example.
So you have a handful of masterpieces and a growing number of elite collectors who want the absolute best.
Right. And then you add provenance, the painting's ownership history. That acts like a seal of approval. When a work has been part of a major collection like David Geffen's, its status is solidified. Its story becomes part of its value.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just a few billionaires deciding this.
No, not at all. The masterpiece consensus is built over decades. It's art historians writing about it, museums including it in major exhibitions, and influential collectors buying it. All of these things send a signal to the global market that says, this isn't just great art, this is necessary art.
So the painting is great because it literally changed the conversation about what art could be.
Precisely. And its price is a measure of just how profoundly it transformed that conversation. Its refusal to be conventionally beautiful is what made it so revolutionary.
Which makes perfect sense. Challenging art like this lasts because it acts like a mirror. In the 50s, it reflected the anxiety of the Cold War. Today, it still speaks to our own themes of chaos and fragmentation in the digital age.
And you see this pattern throughout art history, this evolution of what we consider beautiful. The Impressionists, Monet and his circle, they were mocked by the establishment. Their work was called messy, unfinished, ugly.
And now they're some of the most beloved artists in history.
Exactly. Interchange is part of that same tradition. It invites you, the listener, to expand your own definition of what art is allowed to be. It's not just about pretty pictures. It can be about capturing a psychological state.
And you can see its legacy today.
Oh, clearly. When you look at contemporary artists like Gerhard Richter or Cicely Brown, you can see they're drawing directly from that de Kooning playbook of gestural complex abstraction to talk about things like memory and decay in our own time.
So in the end, when you understand the context, the historical weight, the revolution it was part of, the market consensus, you stop seeing a chaotic mess.
You start to see what it really is. A profound and monumental statement about the human condition that simply couldn't be expressed within the old rules of art.
It proves that beauty isn't a requirement for greatness. In fact, sometimes the most valuable works are the ones that make us uncomfortable, the ones that challenge what we think we know.
They're the ones that force us to rethink everything.
So what does this all mean for us looking forward? This whole conversation about interchange leaves us with a final, really powerful question for you to think about.
Which is?
If the value of a masterpiece is so tied to its ability to transform how we think, what contemporary art being made right now, the stuff we might find difficult or incomprehensible or even ugly today, what work will future generations look back on and call absolutely priceless?
Which of today's provocations will become tomorrow's canon? It's something to think about the next time you see a piece of art that just doesn't sit right with you.
That is a perfect place to end our deep dive into Willem de Kooning. If this discussion has sparked your curiosity and you want to keep exploring the fascinating world of art and creativity with us, we'd love for you to subscribe to this deep dive podcast and check out our YouTube channel too.
And we especially encourage you to go explore the work and the blog over at anitalouiseart.com. It's a wonderful resource, really dedicated to art education and inspiration.
It really is. The whole mission over there is, well, it's about sharing the joy of finding art that makes you smile, art that makes you happy.
A fantastic place to continue the journey.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.